we're about to be joined by Ronnie Blakey from the WSL. Ronnie, good afternoon. How are you, mate?
Mate, I was going good until I had to squirt on my gel queen down the sink. What a nightmare. Devastated.
The old gel queen. It's an American phenomenon. If you want me to keep going with this after we talk to Ronnie, I can tell you what it actually does.
Yeah, I can't look at my toothpaste the same way, Brian, anymore. Not the empty toothpaste.
Basically, there's micro tears.
Or Russell Crowe.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you a Sea Eagles man, Ronnie?
I am a Sea Eagles man.
Are you going to Vegas?
Oh, I wish I was, mate. I'm going to Newcastle instead.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's very similar.
You can still do exactly what you do in Vegas. You can in Newcastle, no doubt.
Hey, Ronnie, as a Northern Beaches man, a fellow citizen that way, Matty Johns revealed, and I had it confirmed by Matty Anderson, who's called Donk, or we like to call him Wristwatch.
Yes.
He actually took out Thor over your neck of the woods. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did. I'm actually spending a bit of time on the north coast at the moment, and I bumped into the shorter, stockier version of Hemsworth, Luke, and he told me he'd been down to Sydney surfing with Tom Carroll and Matty Granger out on the Bommies off Longreef.
Can they
that last big swell?
I've seen vision of Chris surfing. Can the other brothers both surf?
Yeah, they all surf really well.
Wow.
They're all really competent. Yeah. There's nothing they can't do.
I know. Doesn't that make you feel? I know. You can't have everything.
Yeah. Nah.
I bet you they're not gel queen. Definitely not gel queen.
Well, they are, but for the negative effects.
Oh, they're putting the toothpaste back in.
Yeah, they're trying to get it to go down a little bit.
Oh, those gel queens.
Oh, good luck to them. That's unfair. Life's unfair. Yeah. Rightio, Ronnie, the WSL bullet points to this point read which way?
Oh, mate. Impressive start. Game-changing event. The first event of the 2024 season. Next level. The women's sport, performance-wise, it'll never be the same. And mainly due to the performance of a young Australian called Molly Picklum. Next level backhand tube riding. I mean, it's been building. The evolution has been coming over the last couple of years, but we had solid pipeline conditions. None of the multiple world champions were there on finals day. Steph's having a year off. Carissa got knocked early. That's her last event for, well, maybe ever.
Wow.
But this young brigade of just phenoms took over. Betty Lou Sakura Johnson, young Hawaiian, Molly Picklum, and the event winner, Katie Simmers, who's 18. They were surfing 10-foot backdoor pipe, getting huge barrels, and Molly had a 10 on the pipe side of the peak, and it was hands down the best backhand wave I've ever seen ridden by a woman, and hands down a lot better than some of the pipe waves I've seen from the blokes over the years as well. So yeah, a game-changing event. Awesome.
I saw Caitlin Simmers getting interviewed in the water, and she made a really good comment. She said, "Look, this is a wave that women we're petrified of it. I got so much respect for the surfers that surf it, but I've got equally amount of respect for the surfers that don't want to surf it." Is there girls, or have you ever seen professional surfers pull out of an event because it's too heavy?
Yeah, right. I have. But I've also seen people do things that they wouldn't otherwise do with a jersey on, just in the heat of competition, which is awesome. But, you don't want to call people out. Some people are really aware of what their limits are. There has been events in the past that it's kind of unprecedented, the size of the waves. Tahiti in the early years, you didn't really know what was sort of capable there. The wave's so sucky and bowly, it's really hard to paddle into. And there was, reports of, guys putting a jersey on back in the day and sort of saying to the contest director, "Hey, if anything happens, just tell my family that I love them." And they're going out on these huge waves. And, there's always been those events on the schedule. You wind the clock back years and years ago when, on the North Shore, the contest directors were just, they were sick. There was something wrong with them. They just sent people out in anything. Now when the WSL sort of looks at the interests of the surfers, and when the conditions are maybe big but marginal, they cop so much flack for not sending them out there, especially by the old guard, which is it's good entertainment if you're just having a scroll through the gram. There's some great comments.
What sort of training are they doing for when they have to surf something like pipeline when it's 10, 12, 15 foot? Like what do they do fitness-wise?
Yeah, fitness-wise, they're there, like what I think, like a lot of them do is try and simulate what happens to you in a lineup like that. And that is basically reach peak fatigue, where you're completely out of breath, you're spent, and, then you get taken underwater and you're trying to simulate a wipeout. It's a very difficult thing to do. But someone will push you down, and you'll have people there who basically twirl you around in the water and test your ability to control your breath and not lose control, and freak out and just remain calm. But breath hold training is a big focus of the surfers these days. But I mean, for the most part, they're at peak level fitness, so really the main thing you're trying to train is just your brain and your capacity to deal with stress in those situations. And that's something that they're all on top of. Like someone like Molly will go to like Red Bull's training facility where there's, just a whole different level of science going behind the training that they're doing. But yeah, for the most part, it's just about, gathering the minerals to push yourself over the ledge on waves that, are the size of 3-story houses.
Wow. Hey, Ronnie, the NFL season just concluded, and it goes for probably, in its entirety, about 5 months. The NRL goes for probably 8 months. Cricket goes for about 13 months. Never
Was
ends.
that last touchdown just the biggest, someone let the bubbles out of the champagne? It just was such a lame finish to an epic overtime game.
Yeah, I thought you said, I agree.
Where's Scotty Sattler?
Yeah, Ronnie, I agree. It just sort of was over, and we're all building up to this, and it just, they didn't really celebrate.
No.
I couldn't put my finger on it either.
Yeah. Like that same
you
scenario.
Could see it coming from a mile away.
Yeah, the same scenario. We'd be going bongos, wouldn't we? Well, we did for Penrith and Broncos.
Or Cowboys and Broncos.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
so
with you.
weird.
Anyway.
Still watched it.
What I was going to say, Ronnie, was the surfing. Like, how much commitment? I know they've got to stay fit all year round, but the competition in its proper. How long do they need to be up for?
Generally a swell window doesn't last that long. Like a bit of storm activity or energy in the ocean will sort of dissipate over a sort of 3-day period generally. So sometimes it comes in kind of little spurts. You might have a couple of days, maybe 3 days, where you've got to kind of be on. The most taxing events are sort of obvious. It's the ones in Hawaii, and then Fiji's on the schedule this year. That's a big one. It's going to test you physically. The wave's horrifying when it gets big, and there's sort of nowhere to hide. You're gonna eat shit. So they're events that require a real level of fitness and just mental strength to just keep turning up and taking the heavy beatings and getting back out there and going again. But then some are a little more chilled, small wave locations. They're a holiday, so they don't really require a whole lot. Just a 30-minute burst of energy.
Just on that, Ronnie, what's your take on the finals? Like now we've got the best of 3 showdown at Trestles. Are you a fan of the new format, or do you like how it used to be in the old days when they'd finish in Hawaii?
I've been to the finals a couple of times and watched it go down on the day. It's thrilling, it's awesome to see. The thing that excited me about the finals format was the talk of moving to a different venue, and they haven't done that. The finals have remained in California for this will be the 4th year. I'm not a huge fan of that, but having world title contenders battle it out on the final day of the year and watching the consequence of each of those clashes is pretty awesome. It's worked in Australia's favour in the last few years when Steph Gilmore won her 8th world title, a record-breaking 8th. So, Aussies are probably pretty reluctant to complain about it. But, my brother has a podcast that he does, a surfing podcast called Ain't That Swell. And the boys always bang on about a world title being decided in a wave of truth. And I just think that's such a good summary for, how they should be crowned the champ. Like a champion should be crowned at a wave like Pipeline that mere mortals like the rest of us don't even want to know about it.
No.
It takes a special kind of athlete to enter that realm and come out victorious, or enter that realm and conquer the ocean at its fiercest. And there's only a handful of people that can kind of really are capable of that. If the world title was decided at Pipeline in a field of 5 surfers, Molly Picklum's the number one choice by a long shot. Even though she didn't win this event, she's just gotten that comfortable out there. She doesn't matter if it's pipe or backdoor, she's going to have a great chance either way.
What about, Ronnie, you mentioned pipe. What's another wave of truth you feel would be apt to throw those 5 surfers in? Or 10 with the girls?
You're after a certain kind of wave. You almost need a peak, because you can't have, that's what Trestles is. I mean, it's a left and a right. So a regular footer or a goofy footer's, there's sort of a equal playing field, if you like. Both get to test their forehand and their backhand. And then there's waves of truth, like Pipeline, that has that. It's got backdoor, it's got Pipeline, so you can win left or right. But there is a couple of waves of truth on the schedule this year. Cloud Break's one of them. The waves get huge there, but it is just the left. And then Tahiti, obviously, is a serious wave of truth. So finding that wave that gives you both directions, that is also just such a serious challenge. And I think that's what people want. Like, there's no wave that would ever break at Trestles that, I would feel uncomfortable pushing you into on a soft top, Fletch.
Yeah.
I
like
think
it.
you'd survive.
Mate,
but whereas if I push you into a wave at backdoor,
you see you later.
On a soft top, we might not ever see you again.
No. You wouldn't see me out there.
Old STS, soft top specialist. Hey, Ronnie, just before you go, mate, I'd be interested in this because it just doesn't discriminate mental health. Now, Felipe Toledo has won the last 2 World Series championships, and he sat down out of the whole tour for 2024 due to mental health. What's the latest on Felipe? Is he doing all right?
Mate, he's one of the greats, without question. He's lifted the performance level in a big way. I think he's just so explosive and so much variety on his hand, especially. He's just a showman. But he has had periods before where he's kind of dipped and had some down days. So it's something that's happened before. He's got a young family. I think a lot of people kind of don't really consider that. His world title peers, John Florence, Gabriel Medina, Italo Ferreira, they're all without children. Not saying that that's something, but he travelled a lot through that COVID period. Felipe spending, up to 4 or 5 months away from his family, and I think that kind of is where it started to wear on him. And obviously putting together fully committed world title pushes is going to take a toll on anyone competitively and mentally. And he turned up to the first event. He's copped some flack in the past for not throwing himself over the edge in bigger conditions. And he copped a lot of heat in social media, especially for it. Something just didn't look right. He just didn't look like he was in it. I don't think the waves necessarily, were made up all of that. But it just looked like he wasn't really invested in the competition. And I applaud him for making that brave step and taking some time out. That's the good thing about the WSL is like they kind of recognise it. They want him to come back. They want him to, at some point reignite this competitive fire. He'll be back next year.
Yeah. Well said, Ronnie. Now, can we talk about Shortees golf? Because I know you're involved with this.
Yes,
so
please.
is it just all par threes? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, mate. It's a par 3 course at Terrey Hills. But me and a bunch of my mates, family men on the Northern Beaches, got together and got involved in this course. And yeah, we've just renovated the clubhouse. We've got a diner up there now, serving diner food Thursday through Sunday. But yeah, it's an 18-hole short course. Longest hole's about 90 metres, and the shortest is about just under 40. And it's just the perfect little track if you don't have a whole lot of time. If you're semi-decent at golf, you can get around it in about just over an hour.
Oh, yeah. How good's that?
Perfect. And you got merch too? How do we get the merch? Because I've seen some of your stuff. It's good. Where do we get that from?
Mate, just on the website, shortiesgolf.com.
There you go.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And we've been talking too, boys. We want to get you up. And in the lead up to Origin, I think we should get some of the greats together and have a bit of a clash.
Yeah.
Jerseys on.
Yeah. I'm in. Count me in.
Yeah.
I'm down to 18 too. Know. I'm down to 18 in my handicap.
I was in until you said some of the greats.
Yeah, no, mate, come on. That goal kicking, no one's forgotten that, mate.
No, I know.
So it's funny how like a lot of surfers like the golf, don't they? Like I suppose when there's no waves and there's not much to do, they all get into the golf too, don't they?
Mate, oh, they do for sure. And you know, like when you think about where some of the great surf spots are, there's usually a pretty good, decent golf course not too far away from them. But yeah, it's a good way to fill in the time, especially around the events. We kind of had a crew, the golf geeks. It was like Kelly Slater, Jake Patterson, Tommy Whitaker. There was a bunch of guys, Julian Wilson, and we just all, as soon as they called the event off, we were just going, yes, first crap. We'll head out to Turtle Bay when we're in Hawaii, or Kapalua when we're on Maui, and yeah, just any prize money that the surfers were earning, or any money I was earning from commentary was just absolutely getting slurped up by these exorbitant golf fees overseas.
Yeah, living the dream though.
It's a good way to kill the time.
Yep, my oath. And Ronnie, we've killed the time. We're done. We're about to leave the studio. So, mate, we appreciate
thanks, Ronnie,
you sharing your day with us and the insight you've given us. And you're welcome anytime you want.
Oh, beautiful, mate. I'm going to go squirt out the rest of this gel queen on YouTube and look for a new product.
Gel queen.
Mate, why don't you sell it? Sell it at Shorty's Golf.
Yeah. That's what
not a bad idea. Yeah. I'll, loosen up the swing a little bit.
Don't invite the Hemsworths. Don't invite them. They're not coming.
No, that's exactly right. No. Good on you, Ronnie.
I think that's where I'll send it.
Ronnie Blakey on fire. Thanks for joining the run home with Joel and Fletch. It's shortiesgolf.com is the way to do that. What a great fella he is.